All right, good morning. The Committee on Parole is called to order. It's 9:04 a.m. on Tuesday, March 11th, 2025. My name is Cheryl Renatza, serving as chairman of today's panel. My colleagues on the panel this morning, seated to my left is Mr. Steve Prater, to my right, Mr. Pete Freeman. Our remote location today is at Dixon Correctional Institute. We are at DOC headquarters in Baton Rouge. With the staff here at headquarters, introduce yourself for the record. Here, with the staff here, introduce yourself. Good morning, Warden. Would you and your staff please introduce yourself for the record? I think y'all are still on mute. I think y'all are on mute. Can y'all hear us?
Gus didn't look like he's hearing us when we call him.
Yeah. You want to click us off for a second?
Hello? We on
I
mute.
see you down there. You're on mute. No, I don't see you.
We on mute.
All right.
We on
All
mute
right.
now.
There's now.
All right.
All right. Warden, we went through all of our introductions. If you and your staff would introduce yourselves for the record, please.
See, he can't hear us.
I think we're having some technical issues.
We on mute.
Mr. Myers, can you hear us okay?
Yes. I can, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Can y'all
Warden
hear?
Bickham, we can hear you, Warden Bickham. Can you hear us? Can you hear us? No? All right, we're having some technical issues. We're gonna have to try to,
Can y'all hear us?
we can hear you, but can you hear us?
Look like they cannot hear us.
We can hear you.
I'm calling back.
Stand.
Pete, it looks like it here. Hey, y'all can't hear us? Correct. Oh. All right, so y'all, Jose, they can hear us, we can't hear them. It looks like it's on our end. So, you see something in there?
This.
Can y'all hear us now? All right.
Can you hear us?
No, we can't hear them.
No.
Can't hear us.
Which is that here? Yeah, usually it seems like it'd be on.
Can they hear?
Mute y'all real quick.
They can hear us. If we cannot hear them, it's just.
Yeah, it's just, they can hear us. Log off and log back on. All right, we're gonna do that. All right. right. Are we back on?
Yeah, can you hear us?
All right, so we are back on and I don't think we can hear you still. Are we certain it's not on y'all's end?
Mr., well, our participants can hear us, so we know it's not on our end.
Yeah, they can hear us. So we can't hear them. You can hear us, correct? Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, we can't hear y'all. You sure it's not on their end? Jose, did you check everything you need to check?
Telephone. Yeah.
Let's share all.
You get in front of. I don't want to talk to them. Okay.
He's not like it.
I did hear you for a second there.
Oh, good.
Oh,
Is that
there
better?
it is.
All
That is-
right.
Yeah.
Good, it's a good deal. Thank you.
Don't touch anything.
Yeah. We said, don't touch anything.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, thanks everybody for your patience. I apologize for the technical issues this morning. Our first case at DCI is Mr. Murphy. Good morning, Mr. Murphy.
Morning.
Mr. Murphy, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
Terence Murphy, 518626.
All right, Mr. Murphy, you can see who the parole panel is, and you heard all the other introductions. Before we get started, I want to acknowledge you have some folks here on Zoom in support. You have the Parole Project, Mr. Myers, who will be speaking. Also speaking will be Archie Antoine and Mika Murphy. Observing by Zoom, Kim LaDuff, Marilyn Murphy, Malia Winfield, and Tayana Winfield. Here with us in Baton Rouge at headquarters, we have some folks in opposition. We have Gwendolyn William, Augustine Brown, Armand Brown, and Jacqueline Young. And those who've indicated they'd like to speak will do so at the appropriate time. First, Mr. Murphy, I'm going to read some identifying information and then we'll get started. You are classified as a first felony offender. You are currently serving a 40-year sentence. You were sentenced in West Baton Rouge Parish, January of 2007 for a manslaughter conviction. Is that information correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Murphy, tell us why are you in jail? What did you tell us what you did to get in jail and get convicted of a manslaughter? And why do you think you're eligible? Why do you think you deserve to be considered parole?
Well, drug deal went bad with me and Earl. I passed down Earl Street where he lived, which is Avenue C, and he flagged me down. I pulled in the yard and I asked him what was up. He told me to go have the money for me later on. So he turned, I told him, I said, every time I see you, you have the same excuse. So he went to cursing me, I went to cursing him. He told me he was going to get his gun. So I left. He came around the street where I was about 5 to 7 minutes later, reaching under his shirt, threatening me. So I grabbed my gun and I shot at him. He left, took off running. I jumped in the car and left. Later on, I found out he passed. I turned myself in.
All right, so you pled to manslaughter. So tell us why you think you deserve to be considered for parole release.
Well, since being at Dixon, they have given me the opportunity to rehabilitate myself with different programs such as Cage Your Rage, Living in Balance, Going Home, Staying Home, Making Peace with Your Past. I'm currently in Victim Impact and 100 hours of pre-release. But since I have took anger management, it has taught me a lot to be calm, listen, breathe, and diffuse situations. So since I've been here, I have not had any anger issues or nothing like that.
Right. Well, I did notice that you only had 4 write-ups since you've been there. How long you been there? Or how long you been in jail, I should say.
Going on 20 years in June.
Warden Bickham, what can you tell us about Mr. Murphy?
Ma'am. Good morning, Ms. Renata. Terrence, like he said, he's been down 20 years. He's been here a significant amount of time. He's only had those 4 write-ups in his history. He is a pride member, which for inmates who stay out of trouble and try to enhance themselves. He's also a trustee. And of course, the parole project's with him, but he doesn't give us any trouble. He does a good job. He's an orderly with some of the programs we have and stuff, and he does a good job in there.
Good, thank you. Before we start our interview, Mr. Murphy, we're going to listen to the folks who want to speak on your behalf. And first, we'll hear from Mr. Kerry Myers.
Good morning, panel. Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project. We're here in support of Mr. Murphy today. This presents an opportunity for Terence because there's something different this time than when Terence was a juvenile. He left juvenile custody at age 19. He had no outside support, no support system, no reentry plan. This time he does. He has the support of Parole Project. He's going to be here locally in the Baton Rouge area, living with his mother. So we have an extended period of connection. We'll have an extended period of connection with him. He'll be evaluated by our social work staff for any past and current traumas that need to be addressed. He'll have the support of our employment enhancement program. He'll have the ability, again, to have long-term support because he's local. Significant difference. Mr. Murphy took responsibility for his crime immediately, and he turned himself in. He is a trustee. He's had only 4 disciplinary write-ups during his incarceration. The board has an opportunity today. He's going to get out someday. The board has an opportunity today, should they grant his parole, to give him the opportunity to get the services that he didn't have the last time. And so we just asked the board to consider all of these things and grant his parole today.
Thank you. Could we hear now from your cousin, Archie Antoine?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. My name is Archie Antoine. Terence Murphy is my cousin. In the past 20 years ago, my cousin went through a period of time where he suffered from substance abuse, anger management issues, along with being released, as you heard before, from the juvenile facility at 19 years old, I'm sorry. He also had past childhood trauma. He was lacking the skills to deal with these issues. Though these past issues are not excuses at all. And I'm not trying to portray that they are. But those items did in the past contribute to his incarceration, his bad decision-making. Fast forward to current time, you will see a completely different human being, one who has learned crucial life skills that are essential to living a successful, law-abiding, and productive life that can help contribute positively to society. Over the past 20 years, Terence Murphy had become a trustee, as you just was told. Also, he obtained his GED and developed the life skills that's required to be an asset to his community. That's why I'm here today, speaking on behalf of a changed and reformed man, Mr. Terence Murphy.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you sharing those remarks with us.
Yes, ma'am.
Another cousin, Mika Murphy, would like to speak.
Good morning.
Morning.
All right. Today I stand before you thanking you for the blessed opportunity speaking on Terence Murphy's behalf. Forgiving is the action or process of forgiving or being forgiven. Acknowledging the hurt Terence caused, accepting the situation, letting go of resentment, and actively choosing to move forward without holding on to anger or bitterness. Terence is truly sorry for what he did, and I understand how much pain it caused your family. He takes full responsibility for the actions and wants to ask for forgiveness. Terence has been taking actions for his mistakes and accountability, asking for help and forgiveness, taking classes and being in re-entry programs. Terence is the meaning of soft and smooth, acknowledging the pain that he caused in a situation that could have been solved through revolution. T stands for trust. E stands for empathy. R stands for righteousness. R being relaxed. E is having eagerness. N being nice. C is having courage. E being educated. Terrence truly and believing in himself often and referred to as self-trust and having self-belief in himself involving having faith in your own ability, instincts, and decision making, which is critical for personal growth, resilience, and achieving life goals. Terrence's personal growth and strength is trusted and believing in self-discovering and allowing himself to embrace challenges and learn from experiences. Spending time with family, friends, and who believe in him and his support and his goals. Terrence learning from all his mistakes and using our feedback to improve his social skills and decision making. Terrence capable of achieving his goals and overcoming obstacles fueled by positive self-image and belief in his potential. Terrence trusting his core value and help himself and better decision making that align with his true self that builds confidence in himself. Terrence taking action for his mistakes, changing his mindset, going to therapy and having family time and family support. Terrence changing his mind means forgiving himself, involving acknowledging past mistakes, taking responsibility and moving forward towards positive motivational skill set. Trusting in the support system and the system itself and his lawyers, reentry programs, family, friends, and positive speaking and motivational speakers that's in his life. Terrence truly sorry for his mistakes. He regrets his actions. His heart hurts for knowing he caused your family pain. Terrence apologized for his thoughtless behavior. Terrence asking for forgiveness on the family behalf. He's sorry. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate your remarks. At this time, we'd like to hear from those who are here in opposition. Could we first hear from Ms. Gwendolyn Williams? Yes, which is, yes, ma'am, stand up. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, my name is Gwendolyn Williams. I'm a sister. What hurts the most is that Terence Murphy came to our home every day. We treated him like a family. My mom served lunches here. He would come, and no matter if it was 5 people in front of him, he wanted to be served right then and there. We, catered to him, we treated him like family. If it was a stranger, maybe it wouldn't have hurt as bad. He and my son, best friends. My son was incarcerated as a juvenile. Terence Murphy rode with me to visit my son. Money, but what he said happened, it never happened. My brother called me and he told me that Terence Murphy had been showing him a gun, saying that he was going to kill him. Now, you say that my brother owed you $15. We're not rich people. We definitely are not poor. Terence, Earl owed you $15. I would have given you $150. That never happened. You didn't have an argument with my brother that day. You sat at our table and ate lunch that day. My mom needed something from the store. You took my brother to the store. My brother was on his way to Court Street, which is like 3 streets over. We lived on Avenue C. Terrence was on Avenue B. My brother was taking someone on Court Street a dinner. You were standing.
Miss Williams, you speak to us, don't speak to Terrence.
I'm speaking, you really want to look at me,
I understand.
and my brother was like I said, walk in to take somebody a dinner. And you were standing maybe there and showing off. And you did shot at my brother. It was so hard. My brother took out running after you shot him. And instead of going this direction to where we lived, he went in another direction. We got there, my brother was lying on the ground, we're thinking he's gonna be all right, They called me and said that chicken man is chicken man. Shot him, but I'm thinking he's gonna be okay. I'm my sister. We're all sitting there thinking, he's gonna get up and he's gonna be okay. It's very Look at my brother. Because he had bled out and died. My mother sat there and watched her child bleed out and die. My sister passed out. He did it because he knew that my brothers were incarcerated, my son was incarcerated at the time. So you felt like you didn't have anybody to protect him. On my mom's dying bed, she promised me to make sure that it was the 40 years that he agreed to do, because we didn't want to go through a trial and have to relive what he did. He's saying he's sober, but you try to contact us through the cell phone. Try to contact my son over and over. My son said, "You're no longer a friend of mine. You killed my uncle." You know, several one, Lurch, that Patrick, he just recently died of a heart attack while still incarcerated. They did time with Terence Murphy. I was always on the cell phone. It's something to say. You sent letters to us, I contacted the prison. Don't send us anything. We don't want to hear from you. And like I said, no, it was no argument. My neighbor Noel Williams told me the day before he killed my brother, he showed him a gun and said he was doing bad. He was going to rob and kill somebody. So no, family, he has not changed. He shows no remorse. And it would be putting us in prison or something, because we all live within a mile of each other. Your mom lives a quarter of a mile from us. Is it right for us to have to see you?
Yeah, Ms. Williams, can you wrap it up for us, please? Thank you.
Yes, we strongly oppose. Strongly, we should have to live with knowing that this person is walking around the neighborhood. My brother didn't get to see 40.
Yes, ma'am.
He didn't
Thank you
get to
very
have
much.
family. He's able to get out and get married and have a family. My brother didn't get that opportunity.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Okay, Augustine Brown.
My name is Augustine Brown Hawkins. I'm the sister-in-law of Earl Hawkins. We all live in Port Allen. Port Allen. Everybody knows everybody. We know the family. I still talk to some of the family. I still speak to some of the family. But in my heart, he took a life. He took a life. Bea had a daughter. He won't be able to see her. He didn't see her graduate from LSU with honors. Be able to see her get married and walk her down the aisle. I understand. I forgive Terrence, but I feel that he took a life. In 20 years, and if you promised him 40, the family asked for 40, I think he deserves to do 40. We forgive him. We don't hold nothing against the family, but the hurt. The night of the killing, Bill ran from out one street to another street and jumped the fence. And he came and shot him. And he was trying to make it to a pastor's house. He tried to knock on the pastor's door, Mr. Morgan, and he collapsed in the yard. And to come and see all the Port Allen people there, to hear that Terrence had shot Bill. And he used to be in Miss Ruby's house every day eating. She served it. And all she was saying was, if he would have just came to me, I would have gave him whatever he owed him. If he just would have came to me. And she has passed. So I'm speaking on her behalf as a mother. Put yourself in her shoes or your shoes if that would have been your child that got shot. How would you feel? So we feel our heart is hurting right now. Our heart was hurting back then. And to see my mother now rise up out the chair and pass out, it just still bothers me. You know, it still bothers me. I have nothing against the family. We have nothing against the family at all because we know them. But if he just would have came, whatever argument, just talk to the family, we would have got the situation straight. We would have paid him whatever we need to pay him. And I'm just saying, the 40 years, if he was agreed to the 40 years, I feel that that should be done. Because we're all still in the same community. We all see each other. We all speak to each other. And if we see Terrence, it's gonna bring up back hard feelings. It really is gonna bring back some sad feelings.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
that's all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, and Ms. Young.
Thank you for getting us out to speak. My sister-in-law said it all. Everything that I would be saying. It really, that day, okay, what made me know that he's not remorseful, the first thing he got up, he didn't tell the truth about what happened. My brother didn't flag you down. He didn't argue with you. You were going around telling everybody what was about to happen. I remember this like yesterday. His uncle, the one that has passed, he was really behind it. He was pushing him up to do it. He was telling him to kill him. I know that for a fact. It was plain. And like I said, my mother treated him like a son. Matter of fact, treated him better than she treated. I say, she loved all the children. My mother is a loving person. He was there at that house every day. She made sure he ate. He was there more than we were there. You ran my brother down like a dog. He ran my brother down like a dog. My brother ran like he jumped fences. My brother tried to get to his spiritual advisor's house. Anytime you shoot somebody, you ran him down. He jumped the fence. You ran him. He was running for his life. You wouldn't think that would hurt my mom, and she was supposed to be like a mom to you. My brother is gone. He can get out. He still is young. He can get out, have a family, have a daughter, and give my brother a chance to either raise his daughter, which she is LSU ready. He didn't give us time with my brother. My brother, I'm just too hurt. And like I thought, maybe I said, maybe he'll get up here and tell us he's sorry. First thing come out his mouth, he telling a lie. So that let me down. I thought he would apologize, but he didn't. So that makes it, you don't have no remorse. Then you round when you're talking to everybody, people in the prison, we know people in prison, they call us and tell us what he's doing. He's calling, asking people to come and ask us, and he called us. Matter of fact, he did call. He did call. So if you were so right, keeping up with the rules, you wouldn't be on the cell phone. Using a cell phone in prison, your own personal cell phone. So you not all that upstanding. But that's all I have to say. It's no remorse. He came out with a lie. So that let me know you're not sorry for what you have done.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms.
And I
Young.
thank y'all for listening to me.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Murphy, your case was assigned to me, so I'll take the lead on the interview, and I do have some questions. We talked a little bit about you. You were in juvenile custody up until age 19. How much time did you spend in juvenile custody?
5 years.
And what was that for?
A negligent homicide.
You want to tell us what happened in that incident?
I was young. I was in a game back then. I found a gun in the neighborhood, playing with it, not knowing what I was doing. The gun went off. An innocent bystander passing by in a vehicle got hit. I found out they passed. I turned myself in. Ended up going to LTI, thought that the gang I was in, I was doing something, but the gang that they had in LTI was for real. To where they was turfing and I had to fight, sleeping, waking up, fighting. And that's what was going on.
So somebody mentioned, I think your cousin, that you since being at DCI or being in jail, you've achieved your GED. What grade did you finish in school when you were in school?
When I left, when I went to LTI, I was 14, so I was in like 9th grade.
And did you have any classes at LTI to
No,
work
ma'am.
GED? No.
Ma'am, I was doing more fighting than anything.
Okay. We talked about, you mentioned you were enrolled in Victim Impact in 100 hours, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been in the Victim Impact program?
I've been in Victim Impact about 3 weeks.
Have you learned anything meaningful in those 3 weeks?
Yes, ma'am. I want to ask the victim family, the Hawkins family, to forgive me for what I have done, to find in their heart to forgive me. I never meant to cause any hurt, harm, or pain to anybody. We was like family. I'm truly sorry for what I have done.
All right. So you, when you got out of LTI, and we've established that you relied on the Hawkins really for as family, but you became a drug dealer.
Yes, ma'am.
And you say that you didn't mean to harm anybody, but why did you have a gun?
Because I was selfish. It was all about me. I didn't think about nobody but myself.
All right, so let's talk about the plea agreement that you made with the victim's family.
I took the 40 years taking responsibility for what I have done. If I would have went to trial, I would have been trying to prove my innocence, saying that I didn't do it. But that's the reason I took the 40, because to take care of my business.
So are you saying today you didn't do it?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So they agreed to 40 years and you agreed to 40 years, and here we are today. What do you think we should do?
Was on my rehabilitation, I'm asking that the board consider by the law has changed and offer me the opportunity to have parole at 20 years.
Okay. All right. I don't, you lost we've established you only had 4 write-ups, but you lost 30 days of good time in 2018. What was that for? Was that for the cell phone?
I didn't have a cell phone, ma'am. I had a write-up for, they said bribery, but it was more of an inappropriate conversation. But due to that officer is no longer here for another situation.
I'm not sure I understand all that, but I'll take it. I don't have any other questions. I'll defer to my colleague.
I just have one question. Is there any reason why I see you only have 3 classes? Were you unable to get into them or what? Have you applied for other classes?
I have more than 3 classes, sir.
Okay, well, that's your Department of Corrections program completions only showed 3. Okay, but that's all it showed. All right, and that's all the questions I have.
All right, I don't see any other questions, Mr. Murphy. I think we're prepared to vote. Mr. Murphy, I have listened very intently to the things you said. I read the record very carefully, and I'm really pleased that you've only had 4 write-ups in almost 20 years. I also listened to what the victims have had to say and the promise you made that the state made to them for the 40-year sentence. And I agree with you, the law has changed to make you parole eligible, but today's not the day for you based on the opposition that has been expressed in the record and that what we've heard today. So my vote today for that reason is to deny your parole. Mr. Prater.
I concur.
Mr. Freeman.
I concur.
All right, Mr. Murphy, today, your parole application has been denied. You'll have an opportunity to reapply, and I encourage you to do so.
Yes, ma'am.
William Wesley, right?
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
Aye.
All right, good morning. Are we good? Can y'all hear us? Good, okay, good.
Yes, ma'am, we're good. Thank you.
Good deal, thank you. Mr. Wesley, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and your DOC number, please.
My name is William Wesley, DOC number 322344.
All right, Mr. Wesley, just stand by just a moment. We're escorting some people into the room with us. I would like to acknowledge the folks who have joined us by Zoom for here in support. We have the Parole Project, Mr. Kerry Myers, and your brother, Mr. Wesley. How do you say your brother's first name?
Ty.
Ty, okay. He will be speaking on your behalf at the appropriate time. Here with us in Baton Rouge, we have Decator Wesley and Desiree Giles, who are here, and joining us by Zoom is Olivia Giles also, all of whom will be speaking on behalf of the victim. First, let me just read some identifying information into the record and we'll get started. Hodge is there with you at DCI, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So you're classified as a second felony offender. You were sentenced in June of 2007 for a manslaughter conviction. You received a 40-year sentence, and your parole eligibility is June 7, 2025. Your good time release date is August 29, 2038. Is all that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So take a minute, Mr. Wesley, and tell us what landed you in jail, and why do you think we ought to vote for your parole today?
On the night of my crime that took place, I was heavily intoxicated with alcohol and drugs. And my wife and I, we had an argument about her continuing seeing her ex-husband, in which she admitted to, that led me to become physically aggressive toward her. And I stabbed her in the back one time, which caused her death. And I fell in my duty to also notify 911 because I panicked at the time and didn't know what to do due to me being in my intoxicated state of drugs and alcohol. So I notified my family members and told them what I had did, and they were the one who notified the authorities as to what I had did. And I panicked and didn't know what else to do. So I kind of like moved the body from out of the house and put it on the outside by the shed because I didn't want the kids to see their mother that way, nor the sister that was at the house at the time as well to see her sister like that. And I stayed on the scene of the crime until the authorities arrived, and I admitted to what I had did. Like I said, the investigation was open and closed the same day of my incident. I gave the attorneys the weapon that I used that caused this untimely death upon Elistine Shelvin. And I fully accepted full responsibility for my actions, but I was very heavily intoxicated with drugs and alcohol. And I'm sorry for what I did. I'm very remorseful for what I did because I had no right even engaging in alcohol and drugs because I was already on parole before the commencement of this offense. So I just want to take this time to, apologize for my actions and show remorse toward this loving family because this is a loving family and all of us grew up together and we know each other well, but I had a problem at the time with my anger and my addiction.
All right. And so why do you think we ought to vote favorably for you today? Why do you deserve consideration?
Because my past was bad at that time. And since I've been here at the Institution of Addiction Institute, I have learned remarkable things about myself and my rehabilitated state, such as becoming a prisoner of integrity, discipline, and education, finishing all the programs that I needed to incorporate a better livelihood inside of myself where I could sustain myself, and duly acknowledging that I did have a drug and alcohol problem as well as an anger management problem. And throughout the years of being at Dixon, I attended Living in Balance, Substance Abuse, NA, Cage of Rage, Making Peace with My Past, Going Home, Staying Home. And all these programs really gave me the essential tools to incorporate a new beginning in my new transition of my livelihood. And not only that, you know, it really helps me to really move on in my life and acknowledge that I did had a horrendous drug addiction that really made my decision making impractical and causing me to create harm in society and on the very people that loved and cared for me so dearly. So I just apologize for my erroneous mistakes that I had in society and the way I lived in society. And I have a reentry plan on going through the parole project for my reentry. I have a job already lined up for when I do be granted, if this honorable board do grant me parole here today. And I just want to let the family know deep down that I'm very sorry for my actions and I'm very remorseful.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wesley. Warden, what can you add to the conversation about Mr. Wesley?
Well, I tell you, one thing I'd like to add is, in his right at 20 years of incarceration, he's only had one write-up, and that was in 2007. So, which is almost an exemplary record for that time frame for sure. He's mentioned his programs in the parole project, which is a good transition plan, but he's also lives in dorm I, one of our honor housing, because of his lack of disciplinary issues and his helping. He's an orderly on one of our shifts and been there for years, and he really does a good job within our prison system.
Thank you. We'd like to hear from the parole project now. Mr. Myers.
Yes, good morning. Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project here for William Wesley. William may have been his best advocate already today, and along with Warden Bickham, but William's now 55 years old. You can see his record. You can see the programming he's taken. He's got an excellent transition plan with Parole Project. We'll provide him with the transitional services that he needs before he goes to his long-term address, which would be with his brother in Houma. His brother is a captain with the Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Department, and certainly will help hold him accountable for his actions in the future. At 55 years old, he is, I think y'all are aware of the statistics, how low of a risk he is to reoffend. This was a crime of passion fueled by drugs and alcohol. He's addressed those problems during his incarceration, those issues. And he's shown that by his achievements in programming and by his disciplinary record. So I just ask this board to consider those factors today and grant Mr. Wesley his parole.
Thank you. We'd like to hear from Mr. Wesley's brother, Mr. Tide Wesley.
Yes, ma'am.
Here, come up here.
That's all right. Good morning. Over the years that my brother has been here, I have seen my brother change a whole lot. And I'm not just saying it because of my brother, but my brother had a bad problem. And I know he's sorry, and we're sorry that it had to get to this point for him to realize that the problem that he had, and the problem that he had was the drugs. And now I was in law enforcement then, but just starting out. But now I have moved up in the ranks and everything, and I will be there for him, and to make sure he's on the right path and everything to continue the journey that he's on right now. And I ask that y'all would consider him the parole so he can come back. We lost our parents while he's been here. I've been out there by myself. I do have family, but nothing like a big brother. I had to do things by myself, and the hard thing was I had to bury my parents by myself. That was the hard part. So, I just ask that, you consider, and, with my sister-in-law's family, they know from day one that we all been there, apologized and everything that he did. And, I guess it just was something that just happened. And I know he's sorry
for it.
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us this morning. Thank you. Could we hear from, the folks who are here? Just introduce yourself for us, please.
Yes, I am Desiree Giles, the sister of the victim. I would like to say when this unfortunate situation happened, I was only 9 years old. And from that moment, I noticed my life changed tremendously. During that moment of me being 9 years old, my nephew is here today. She's not only the victim's son, but the offender's son as well. Never had the experience of either parent. So as I hear that they mention how it was affected over the years, they lost both parents. There was a victim included that never got experience either. It's been a huge toll on our family. I would say I don't believe that 20 years is enough time for exchange of someone's life. She had 3 kids, all 3 of their lives in different stages, was affected tremendously. We're still dealing with that today. I don't feel safe. As he mentioned, his brother is in law enforcement, and I'm under the impression his brother is a huge part of why he actually turned himself in, which is unfortunate because I thought it would have been done out of moral remorse. But unfortunately, with the idea of knowing the circumstances of being intoxicated and under influence, as I've grown as a young adult to this day, I understand you always have a choice. And it's really tough for me to consider the idea of knowing crimes that are committed that have certain sentences in someone's life being in transition or exchange for that. I don't think it compares, not at all. I don't feel safe with the idea of him coming home because he's a repeated offender, whether there was abuse involved in the past. I'm also under the impression years after this affected us with the sentencing, I was under the impression that he actually premeditated it because in the neighborhood, he spoke to people about how he was gonna do it before it was done. With the sentences that he did get, it's understood, and I questioned my family for years of the people who made the decision to let us move forward with this being the small sentencing he got, but my family explained to me, because you guys were so young, we didn't want to put you on trial, to have us speak in front of a court and go through that emotional turmoil. So we just agreed to the 40 years so that maybe in the future a difference could be made. You know, I hear details about the case. It doesn't ignore the fact that he did break in, which shows that it was, you know, intentionally and malicious. It was spoke about before, which showed premeditation. And the idea of someone carrying a gun and getting more than 20 years versus someone being murdered and their family never seeing them again. And today I speak to you and I just ask you for more support as if considering if it was your family. I'm a true believer of growing and changing in life, but I'm also a bigger believer of understanding the actions that I hold accountable for and how it affects other people. And never in my life would I expect for someone as dear to me, life to be exchanged for only 20 years. So I'm hoping that you guys also consider that today. I'm huge on understanding with forgiveness, but morally, it just seems like it was a situation that was accommodated due to other people involved and the support of people that thought it should go that way. So thank you for your time today. I hope you guys do consider the idea of where he would hypothetically be released in the future. That's exactly where his child who never had a family lives now, and also our immediate family. And they've expressed to me they don't feel safe either. And I just hope justice is served today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ryan, you want to speak? Did you want to speak? You don't have that much to say, well, they'll listen to what you have. Right.
Hi, I'm Decator Crochet, son of the victim and offender. I don't really have much to say. I'm just sitting here listening today to see what y'all were doing. And for me listening, I'm saying he's sorry, remorseful and all that. I feel like he owed me the big about it. Due to the fact I ain't never had a mother, never had a father. And the house that I grew up in, after the situation, like I feel like they forced me my life, it forced me out on the streets. So like I really don't know. But that's all I gotta say.
Well, thanks for coming. And on Zoom, we have Lydia. Lydia, can we hear from you?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. I'm asking for permission to actually read my impact statement because it's part of my healing, if that's okay. I'm 33 years old today. I was 13 years old when it happened. My name is Lydia Donna Giles. I'm Elistine Shelvin Wesley's little sister. I would like to start off by providing an understanding of my relationship with Elistine and insight on our final days. Elistine, who my family referred to as Pookie, was the best big sister a little girl could ask for. To her, I was Rudy, the little girl from the Cosby Show. Elistine was my mother's oldest child. After her, my three brothers were born, and then came me. Before Elistine's death, I remember my mom telling me how proud my sister was when I was born. She fed me, dressed me up like a baby doll, and took me everywhere, showing me off to all of her friends and her father's family. I remember all of these experiences vividly. She never took me somewhere I didn't want to go. She took great care of me. When I wasn't with her, I would call her phone all day long to tell her to come pick me up. I wanted to be with her all the time, even when we did nothing but lay in bed and watch movies like Lean on Me, Beloved, Having Our Say, Mama's Forest Family. Those were some of her favorites. I just wanted to be there with her. She was my protector, my confidant, and in a sense, she was like a mom. When she died, I experienced a huge sense of loss. To this day, I constantly work to keep my depression and anxieties at bay. For the last 6 years or so, I attended periodic spells of counseling and therapy. Today, I undergo therapy and daily medication management. I didn't confide in a professional about the struggle that I faced about her death until I was about 26 years old. It wasn't until that day I sat in an Army counselor who asked me a question that triggered me to cry like the 13-year-old I was the morning I was sitting on my sister's cold leather couch next to my oldest nephew, her son. As police officer said to me, "I'm sorry, but your sister is no longer with us." That was the day I understood that I had a problem that I needed healing from. I vividly recall my cry, which resembled a whale's roar. I never heard a sound or had a cry like that one. I recall the sensation of being outside of my body. I had a helicopter view of my nephew, the police officers, and I as we sat and stood in the living room. I watched it all as it was happening. I couldn't put into words the way that I felt. I still remember the day prior to the incident. I went with Elistine to William's mother's house, where he was at the time. I don't remember whether it was to get something from him or get something to him. But I do remember as my sister, my 1-month-old nephew, and I were leaving his mother's house, walking to the car, I watched William wrestle with my sister, taking her phone out of her hand and slamming it on the ground, where it broke into many pieces. I felt extremely sick as I stood there, holding my 1-month-old nephew in my arms. There had been times when I saw purple and green bruises on my sister's arms and blood vessels in her eyes. but I never witnessed her being violated. I remember us leaving and stopping at a friend's house to call the police. Then I remember going to my godmother's house, who begged her not to go home that night. But ultimately, Elistine wanted to go home, so that's what she did. I remember Elistine asking my godmother, who I resided with at the time, if I could spend the night. I went home with her because I always wanted to be with her, and I wanted to help her with her baby. I spent the majority of the night in bed with her and my nephew, helping her warm bottles on the stove and holding him so she could rest. That was until William came and knocked on the door, and she let him in. They went into her bedroom, and I spent the next few hours in the living room, a nervous wreck, worried and uneasy, contemplating calling the police. Ultimately, I did nothing. I ended up going to my nephew's room where he slept. I made a pallet on his floor and I fell asleep. Even at 13 years old, I held myself accountable for not taking action, despite my fear, helplessness of lack of voice. Just doing what I was told and not having a say or a right to express my feelings was normal to me at that time. After the crime, in the wee hours of the morning, William opened my nephew's bedroom door where we remained asleep. Laying on the floor, I opened my eyes and I looked at him standing in the doorway. He looked at me and I closed my eyes, and then he walked away and closed the door behind him. I still remember laying on that floor, smelling a strong scent of mean green. I learned that it was the cleaning spray used during the attempt to clean up after his crime. I remember that sound of the Doodlebop song that was playing on the TV as I dozed back asleep. I woke up again to a loud banging on the front door. My oldest nephew and I originally thought that it was William. But when we got up and walked down the hallway, the police met us in the living room and sat us down on the couch to deliver the news. For years, I had been grieving for my mother, who had already lost one child. I hurt for all three of my nephews, who had to live every day without guidance and love from their mother. For years, I watched their boys struggle, and I see in them the pain that they carry. Elistine has 2 granddaughters. I look at them and I see her. I wish they had an opportunity to meet her. I know she'd love them. The selfish part of me would say that I am opposed to William's release, but the mature woman that I am today, I would say that I'm neither opposed or unopposed. This crime has caused my youngest son such a lifelong pain that I cannot imagine. I'm not sure how he feels about the possibility of his father's release. I feel for him more than I feel for myself. I don't want him to carry guilt in his heart if he wishes to have a relationship with his father, despite what he's done. He doesn't deserve to feel that way because he has no fault in the matter. He deserves a parent. January 16th, Elistine's birthday, 2025, the United States Army laterally promoted me to first sergeant. In 2019, I earned my bachelor's degree in criminal justice with a specialization in case management. I'm currently working on my master's in industrial organizational psychology. Elistine is at the forefront of my mind as I continue to be a strong woman with a voice. I hope she's proud of her little sister. That's my impact statement. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you. That was very powerful, and I can assure you that your sister is proud of you, as are the people that I see here in this room. Thank you for sharing those remarks with us.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Wesley.
Yes, ma'am.
Case was assigned to Mr. Freeman. Would you answer his question?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Wesley, good morning.
Morning.
First off, Mr. Wesley, you say you had a serious drug problem. What have you done about that drug problem since you've been in prison?
I educated myself to know the damages that drugs has caused in my life to allow me to make these impractical decisions, and at the same time alter my mind to become more aggressive toward the very people that love me, and it just took control of my life. you know, and I had no control of myself. I was in a dark place for a very long time, and the power of drugs really destroyed my life, and it sent a ripple effect behind the people that really did care for me and love me, as you just heard through the impact of my ripple effect upon the sisters of Ellisteen Shelvin. And I
You,
acknowledge, sir.
you took victim accountability?
I took victim impact, and I'm currently in pre-release. I took a lot of different programs that I
Yes.
had. Yes, sir.
Okay. I see that in 98 you went to Blue Walters.
Yes, sir, I did.
That was when you were previously serving time?
No, sir. That was when I was out on parole for
Okay.
my, yes, sir, for my
Okay,
parole.
tell me about that incident. You got 10 years. What did you do?
That took place in 1993 of February. I was sentenced by the Terrebonne District Court of Judge Pettigrew for counter distribution of cocaine. And I received a 10-year sentence for that. So during those years of the early 90s, that's when my drug rampage began to take into fruition, where I started experimenting with all different type of drugs. Cocaine was the #1 choice. And after that, I spiraled my way from out of my element that took place to allow me to start engaging in criminal activity, aggressive behavior, and things of that sort that I now acknowledge. But back then, when I went to Blue Waters, I was really going through the system of those programs, like in a way that I had an opportunity to go through. But this sit down here, since I've been at Dixon, I really sat down and worked these programs and really acknowledged that I had a drug problem. I acknowledged it, I accepted, I repaired myself, and I have had enough of me hurting people behind the choices that I make and let the drugs take over my life. It had to come to an end. And my life, yes, sir, my life is now ended with the victimization of the very people that loved me, that once upon a time cared for me and looked upon me as being a good person. So I just had to change the narrative in my life and just get myself under control because the drugs took me out of control.
Okay, do you consider yourself a drug addict?
Yes, sir, I do. And my detail, if I be granted this parole here today, my sobriety will continue to go on because I want to continue the NA and substance abuse counseling and other self-help programs that the outside world can offer to me. And here at Dixon, I finished all the programs here, but I still order self-help books from off of Amazon to continue me in my growth of recovery.
All right. And you took a plea, right, for manslaughter?
Yes, sir, I did. But if you look at it on the day of this crime, I've been pleaded guilty to this. So the plea really didn't take place at the time of me pleading in a court of law. I stayed on the scene of this incident. I accepted responsibility for my action. There was never an investigation. The district attorney or the detectives have never had to go find a weapon or had to look for me. I was on the scene of the crime and I just panicked and didn't know what to do. That's why I didn't call for help in the proper way that I should have did, calling like 911. But
I also tried to move the body, but it was a little bit too heavy for you to get out the yard, huh?
No, sir, I didn't try to take it off the premises. I just removed it, like I said earlier, for to not allow, because like I said, the kids was young, and I didn't want them to see it.
See what you were doing. That's what I'm trying to get. You knew what you was doing, even though you was on drugs, because you tried to clean up the mess with the bleach and stuff, and then you tried to move her. So, I mean, you understand what you did. I mean, this is really, to me, was a second-degree murder, and they let you plead to a 40-year sentence. Because this definitely was a second-degree murder by the law. But, okay, I have no further questions.
I don't have any questions either. Mr. Wesley, I think we're prepared to vote. Mr. Freeman?
Mr. Wesley, your prison record is wonderful, and I applaud you for that. You're doing great. You're taking a lot of classes. But, you agreed to 40 years, you've only done 20, and with the victim opposition and law enforcement opposition, I don't think 20 years is enough. I think you need to do a little more time and reapply. You're doing good. I think you'll have a better shot though in the future after you've done a little more time. My vote's to deny.
Mr. Prater?
Concur.
And I agree, Mr. Wesley, you're saying all the right things, but, based on what we've heard from the victims this morning and their thoughts about insufficient time served, my vote is to deny. So, keep doing what you're doing, reapply when you're eligible to do so. Good luck, sir.
All right, thank you.
All right, Mr. Crochet, good morning. Oh, you're still on mute. There we go. Morning. Would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
Decator Crochet, 509-341.
Sir, and I want to welcome and acknowledge Mr. Buckley, who's there with you, and he's going to be speaking on your behalf in just a few minutes. And you see your sister Tressie on Zoom, who's observing.
Yes,
ma'am. Mr. Crochet, you are classified as a first felony offender. You're serving a 25-year sentence. Sentencing date was March 28, 2006 for forcible rape. Your parole eligibility date is July 1st of this year, and your full term date is April 1st of 2029. Does all that sound correct?
Yes, ma'am, it does.
Right. Well, I tell you what, I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Prater. Your case has been assigned to you. He's gonna have you tell us some information about why you think you deserve to be heard today.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. That's the first thing we always like to know is to find out exactly why you think you're worthy of getting out early.
Well, for first starters, I'm not the same person I was when I first come and got locked up in 04. I mean, I know y'all hear everybody say the same thing, but I've been through things and come to acknowledge things, but I've accepted full responsibility of my actions, what had come about. And over the period of time, just working on self, getting self better to be a better person out there. I mean, I've completed classes. I've working on classes now. I've actually become a certified instructor through NCCR to teach welding. That's what I've been doing pretty much since I've been here, since 15. And that's just about all I can say right now.
Okay. All right.
Warden, is there anything you can tell us about Mr. Crochet?
Yes, ma'am. His write-up history's been good. He's had 5 write-ups in his time. And he mentioned he's a welding instructor, which is very beneficial and helps us with that here. So he's done a good job with that.
Great, thank you. Mr. Buckley, what would you like us to know about Mr. Crochet?
Well, I appreciate y'all letting me come. I've known Jake about 17, 18 years. I do a prison ministry, jailhouse ministry. Since COVID just went downhill and I lost a few members, president, vice president, they all passed and people got divorced. But I've been working with him on spirituality and his growth. I didn't know him before he got into prison, but I've known him these 17, 18 years, past years, and I've been to a lot of prisons and I've seen the growth. And there's a lot of work out there. I'm gonna put him up at my place, my wife, and I got him a job. There's plenty of welding out there, pipelining, and I truly believe that Jake's changed in this period of time that I've known him. And I appreciate y'all letting me come and speak. I know he's changed spiritual, and he's it says in the Bible we forgive, and I just hope and pray that he can get out and back in society, and I think he'll do a good job.
Yes, sir. Thank you for being here.
Yes.
Mr. Crochet, would you answer Mr. Prater's question?
Mr. Crochet, I'll make this as quick as possible because I know these things are not comfortable to talk about.
Yes, sir.
But in 2006, you did some things and you were sentenced to 25 years on a plea bargain, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You were charged with aggravated rape and sexual battery or something. And anyway, but what I need you to know, what were the ages of this person that you violated?
Shayna was 10 years old.
And what did you do to her?
Basically, attempt to have sex with her and to do, like I say, she had her touch my penis and just
Okay, and how many times did this happen?
It was 2 or 3 times, I believe.
Okay, over a course of how many months?
I don't recall, sir.
A while, though.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and by pleading guilty to rape, it was more than just attempted to do something. You actually did.
It was slight penetration. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. I wanted you to admit that, and you agreed on a plea bargain to serve 25 years.
Yes, sir. With the eligibility of parole after 85%.
Yes, sir. How many years have you served now?
I've done 21 years off of 25.
21 of the 25.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, just so you know, the sheriff is against you getting out, the chief of police is against you getting out, the attorney general is against you getting out. And there's others, that are against it. You're going to be getting out. There's nothing that the state can do about it. You're going to be getting out no matter what in 4 years, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Freeman?
I have.
All right, and, Mr. Crochet, I don't have any other questions either. I do want to commend you on your prison record. You've done the sex offender treatment. You've only had 5 write-ups. And so, you have good programs behind you. I don't see any other questions, so I think we're prepared to vote. Mr. Prater?
Yes, you seem like you're remorseful, although I noticed you didn't mention, I didn't hear you mention the victims at all in your.
Well, yes,
You
sir.
did-
On that part right there, I was waiting for the proper question, because I know y'all was gonna ask. But in the point of that, if Shayna's listening, I want her to apologize for my actions, because I mean, when I was younger, I made a choice. It's not a mistake. A mistake is something you do unknowingly. But I made a choice that ruined her life as well as mine, and it affected many others. And I can't go back and change none of that. No, I wish I could go back and change it. I can't. And I want to say I'm sorry. And if there's, just find it in their heart to forgive me. I mean, the same thing with her family as well. I know they're victims as part of this as well. And one thing I've done for my mom and dad before they passed, the last few years, is I asked their forgiveness as well, because of the shame I brought on my family. And I truly am sorry for what I've done. I can't change the monster that I was back then, but I'm a different man today.
Yes, and I believe that, I pray that they will find the forgiveness in their heart at some point, if they haven't already, and that's not for me to get into, but, anyway, Mr. Crochet, I just believe that you taking a plea bargain, agreeing to spend the 25 years, I think that was got a pretty light deal there, although that is a long time, I'm not making light of it, but my vote is to deny this.
Mr. Freeman?
I concur.
Mr. Crochet, I do agree based on the plea agreement and the opposition that Mr. Prater advised you of. My vote today also is to deny your parole. Good luck to you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
Morning, sir. Would you, introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number, please.
My name is David Johnson. DOC number 166293.
Yes, sir. And I want to acknowledge the folks that we have on Zoom. I think you can see them all. Just let you know that speakers will be your wife, Pat Johnson, and Pastor Willie Johnson. So at the appropriate time, I'll ask for their remarks. Mr. Johnson, you are classified as a third felony offender. You are currently serving a 60-year sentence. You were sentenced in Caddo Parish, 2006, molestation of a juvenile, 2 counts. You received 2 15-year consecutive sentences on those counts, and then also as a habitual offender where you received a 30-year sentence. So your parole eligibility is September 28, 2025, and good time release is September 2050. Does all that sound right?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Johnson, tell us why you're here, what led you here, how'd you get in trouble, and why do you think you're worthy of an early release?
Well, I've worked my way since I've been incarcerated. I've gotten my GED, concrete finish and pesticide applicator, and I'm currently working on auto mechanic right now. I'm trying to go back home and be I want to go home and start if I could, in the neighborhood, a concrete business, try to help the youth out and, give back to the society.
So what did you do to come to jail?
Well, I've been given a chance to, I guess I would say that I'm sorry to my victim. I thought they was gonna be here today, but I don't know. All I can say is that I'm sorry. I previously tried to get a chance to ask them to forgive me for it, but.
Yeah, but you're not answering my question. I said, what did you do? Why are you in jail?
3 counts of molestation for a juvenile.
All right, we'll talk about it in a minute. Warden Bickham, what can you tell us about Mr. Johnson?
Not a lot, really. I have really not much to add.
Okay. Thank you. So, Mr. Johnson, before I start my questions, I'd like to hear from your wife, Ms. Pat Johnson. Good morning, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Good morning. How are you?
Good. Tell us what you'd like us to know, please.
Yes, ma'am. I'd like you to know that me and my husband, we've been married for almost 28 years. And our life began in an unusual manner. But as we began to grow, we began to seek the Lord, and we found our faith. And we began to allow the Lord to minister into our heart and to begin to allow us to live life according to His will. I'm asking if you will allow us to continue to do so, that others will be able to see the growth that God has allowed us to have. Even as my husband has been incarcerated, we have grown together. We have been able to do things even as we are in the facility, speaking to others and allow them to see the love that has flourished without being connected as in a physical manner other than our visitation. So I would just greatly appreciate it for us to be able to minister even more so as we are bonded together as one. I don't know all of the circumstances in the situation that transpired with all of this, but all I know is that when we became married, we became one. And regardless of what, we'll still be one. We're seeking the Lord in our life, and we'll continue on as we have our visitation. It's just been a little difficult these last few months because of the fact that we're getting ready to go up for the board, and we're asking that we'll continue to ask you guys to let us continue our life doing the ministry that the Lord has set before us.
Well, yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Ms. Johnson, for speaking with us this morning. He's lucky to have you on his side.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's Pastor Willie Johnson, please.
Yes.
Go ahead, sir. What would you like to tell us?
I would really like to just speak on his behalf, and I've been witnessing to him on the telephone. We speak a lot, and I just pray that God will bless, and the correction center will bless him, that make a transition, and that he can come from being, I'd say, incarcerated to uncarcerated, and we'll be able to give him a support group morally, spiritually, and strengthen his walk, as his wife have already, said. And I'm just praying that he'll get a chance to really be a help to society, give back to society. And the kind of guy that he's grown to be, I know is possible, but only if, he get that opportunity and get that chance. Now, we in the church, we're praying that he will get that opportunity to once again, show that his life can be a life that can show others that even if you make a mistake, you can be forgiven and turn things around.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for speaking with us this morning. Mr. Johnson, your case was assigned to me, and so I'll take the lead on the questions. And it was very nice to hear from your wife, and that you and she have found your faith. But when I asked you about what you did, you found it, you didn't acknowledge really what you did to be in jail. I know what you did, and I'm not going to go through all that on YouTube. But you're here for more than one victim. The record indicates there were several more children other than that for which you're doing time for, and that's very concerning to me. You mentioned that you have been involved in programs, and I'm really glad that you've had that opportunity. You got your GED, you did the concrete work and pesticides. What I noticed in the record, and correct me if I'm wrong, I see where you did sex offender treatment part 1. Have you done any others?
Yes, ma'am. Part 1 and 2, and then I got shipped from Angola to here in
Right.
2022, so I hadn't had a chance to get back into it.
Are you on the waiting list?
I believe I'm on the waiting list.
Have you inquired?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, I'm going to just tell you, there's very strong opposition from the district attorney's office. There's strong opposition from law enforcement. And I'm not in a position today to consider you even for early release, lacking completion of the sex offender treatment. So that's kind of where I'm standing. I just want you to know, and I'll ask my colleagues if they have any questions.
No, not if you haven't finished.
None.
All right, so I am going to vote first, Mr. Johnson, and my vote today is going to be to deny your parole based on the opposition that I explained to you and the fact that you have not yet completed sex offender treatment. Mr. Prater?
I concur.
And Mr. Freeman? All right, Mr. Johnson, you need to start asking about getting in that class. But today, sir, your application for parole has been denied. Warden, I wanted to say, Warden, I wanted to compliment your staff, particularly Ashley Bradley. I think she signed all the little forms that we have on the parole eligibility work checklist, and that was very helpful to us. So thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am. She's actually sitting here and she heard you, so she's very thankful for your compliments.
All right. Well, thank you. That concludes our business. We're going to sign off and adjourn at 10:47.
Yes, ma'am. Have a blessed day.